Imagine having one job. Just one job. One job that had to be done so that the company wouldn't be engulfed by a hole in automotive meme culture that they dug themselves. You had one job, BMW. How do you make a car that could have been so good looking, so ugly? I know what it is. The designers don't have social media. Because if they scrolled Instagram for 5 seconds, they'd see everyone ripping this ugly ass, buck-toothed ass, tomato looking ass grill. Don't get me wrong, the G80 M3 looks amazing. From the side, and from the rear 3/4, not from the back. And sure enough not, from the front with that ugly ass grill. Kidney grill, more like lung grill. But you know what? I gotta give props to Alpha, who clearly inspired the front end. Look, BMW, I'm not angry. I'm just upset and disappointed. You're making it harder and harder to be a BMW fanboy. And can we talk about how extremely different the M3 and the M4 actually look? Besides the grille and the taillights, they look totally different. In the last review where we discussed why the 4 Series looked good, we discussed the proportions. And while the M4 side profile looks decent, especially compared to some less visually appealing coupes such as the Scion TC and Lincoln Mark 8, it really doesn't look good compared to either of its past 2 predecessors. The E92 M3 is the best looking BMW coupe of all time. And if you don't agree, drop your Addy in the comments because we're squaring up. And I feel like the F8X generation was when the M3 sedan really started to look better than its coupe counterpart when it comes to proportions. The F80 and the F82 were almost identical when it comes to design features, but the roofline and the roundness of the rear and the taillights on the F82 M4 simply don't look as good as the sharper, more aggressive trunk lid and taillights on the F80. However, actually there is no however, the M3 still looks better. So much better, in fact, that I almost excused the grille, but I didn't. Never that. The F80 looked really good, and the G80 looks not as good as the F80, but slightly better than the E90. Dare I say the proportions on the G80, which look almost identical to the F80, and the lines on the G80 almost justify the use of the long grille? That's probably a hot take, but let me know what you think of that one in the comments. I mean, really though, the extra height on the M3 and the longer midsection almost make the grille look a bit smaller, more proportionate, and more aggressive. However, for the 4 Series, it does the inverse. In the 4 Series video, we discussed why the proportions, and this is definitely something I regret saying, but why the proportions made it look good. However, I'm beginning to take my statement back. And not only that, but we didn't discuss the actual design really at all beyond the grille. Let's brush over the proportions again. Look at the F82 and G82 side by side. Let's add the E92 in there too and shuffle them around a bit so it's harder to tell. Now let me know which one you think looks better just off the silhouette in the comments. Definitely not the G82, right? The front is way too long and the big grille doesn't make it look any smaller. However, on its 4-door sedan and wagon counterparts, the rear is bigger with a proportionately smaller hood line, which makes the grille in the M3 look almost just fine. Another thing people were mad about when the 4 Series came out, besides the ugly grille, was the fact that it didn't look like a BMW. This is partially due to the proportions making the new M4 look less like an F82 and more like a Lexus RCF. And don't get me wrong, while the RCF looks good, it damn sure isn't a BMW. Another reason why I personally think the M4 is uglier and objectively less BMW than the M3 is because of the signature BMW lines that it lacks. It lacks that upper door line that goes along the handles. Well, it's kind of there at the front, it's kind of there at the back, but it doesn't continue down the entirety of the car. Reminds me of a certain sports car that's on the tip of my tongue. Like, I can picture the handle of the door and like the shape of the door. I can't think of what car it reminds me of though. If I remember by the time I edit this, I'll put it in. One thing I really like about both models though is the headlights. Definitely an upgrade from the current G23 series. I was never really a fan of those lights, and if I said I was in the past, I lied. But these look really good and do look more like a traditional BMW design than the previous ones. The housings may be shaped a little bit like an Alpha, but hey, you still get a little bit of that F80 flair in there, and there's still the angel eyes that are closer to being complete circles than the G23 series. It's not off the hook yet though. The G82 M4 is missing the most important and most famous design cue from BMW. Well, most important design cue behind the angel eyes, the kidney grille, and the hood bump. They missed the hood bump. The hood bump is not there. How could you make the hood so smooth? That's one of the major features that separates an M car from a normal BMW. Before I got sidetracked, the feature I was actually thinking of was the Hofmeister cape. But luckily, my personal favorite of the 2 models, and the one that I would buy if I was in the market, the G80 M3 saves the day and keeps the H-King. So do I hate these cars? Yes and no. I hate some of the design choices they've made, but I do indeed love the interior. I haven't been in a new M3 or M4 yet, obviously, but I have been in a new G23 series, and if these are anything like that, plus some sick bucket seats, I know they'll definitely be a step above the F generation. The M3, with all things considered, and after you cut the grille some slack, is a pretty damn good looking car. Like, let's be real here. However, the M4's proportions are too far off this time, and while I know there's people out there who might like it, it doesn't get my seal of approval at all. One thing I was really disappointed about was the engine, not the performance. I hear these things are supposed to be putting out more than 500 horsepower. You can't be disappointed about that, but it still sounds like garbage. The S55 got so much slack, and rightfully so, for being such a bad sounding car. To me, it's one of those sounds that I hate that I like, if you will, but it still sounds like garbage. They just came off one of the best sounding V8s ever made, and before that, a super high revving naturally aspirated inline six into something that sounded like this. So many people were wondering why it sounded so bad that the aftermarket had to figure out a solution, which they did. The solution was equal length exhaust or equal length downpipes, which essentially made it sound like an N55. The aftermarket community fixed the sound problem, and I was super excited to hear the sound of the new S58 engine that was going to be put in the M3 and the M4. Luckily, it had already been used in the X3M and X4M, so you could get a sneak peek at what it sounded like. I was at a BMW event when I first heard it, and well, it sounded just like an S55. You had one job, BMW. You had one job, BMW. Oh wait, two jobs. Fix the damn grill and fix the damn exhaust, and you did neither. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let me know in the comments which car you want to see me review next. I'm super excited to do a lot of these videos as always, so let me know. See you guys next video. Peace.
I stay on the move, I'm copping wheels like that. Why that bitch so bad, why she sucked it like that? Pulling on the tracks, I pull out on the tracks. Skirt off in the jack, why I whip it like that?